Hello, everybody. Good evening. Good evening, Claire.
Good evening, even though
Um,
it's afternoon here.
Good morning. Um, Welcome to a meeting with the Israeli Jazz Society. We are a fan club that voluntarily tries to bring some joy and jazz music into the heart of all the people here in Israel. Hopefully, we're doing it, or we try to do it. Um, I think I heard first one of Claire's album. I think the first one, the debut one, um, more than 10 years ago, for sure. And I was blown away. I really like the Barry sax, and I always looking for new and exciting baritone sax musicians. And Claire's sound and the way she plays the music really blew me out. And so this is a really amazing opportunity for me to say thank you, Claire. Thank you so much. I want to ask. I want to start before we start, like diving into history. What made you, join, start playing music, etc. You live in Manhattan, right?
I do, yes.
So can you tell us a little bit of what's happening right now in Manhattan with the lockdown, with the demonstrations? How's the jazz scene in Manhattan right now? How's the
Okay,
world?
sure. Um, this is by far the strangest time I've ever seen in Manhattan. I grew up not far from here and have been living here a long time. Since I've been back in New York since 1985. So, um, right now, it's this strange in between time. Everyone was locked down due to coronavirus for maybe 2.5 months, almost 3 months. And then, this horrible killing happened. A man was killed by a policeman, and immediately demonstrations started. It went from out my front window, and I have some pictures of this, I think, on my Instagram and stuff. Out my front window, there was nobody for 2.5 months. I had been in California, so by the time I came back, it was 2.5 months of nothing, no, locked down, everybody inside, very concerned, and anybody outside. Well, the mask thing, it took a little while to get that together. There were some mixed messages. Anyway, went from nobody on the street overnight to a demonstration that happened. I have a little clip of it right in front of my window. Um, there were about 1,000 people on the block the second night of demonstrations after the first night here. So since then, I have watched several times, I will say tens of thousands of people walk by. Now, most of the people wear masks, plenty of them don't. It's very concerning. If we look at the odds of what could happen after, bringing the numbers way down, I have a feeling that our numbers may go. Well, they are going way back up now. So there's this civil war of the people that won't wear the masks and the people that want everybody to wear masks, and it's summer in the city, so it's hot, or it's getting hot, and there is I don't know. There seems to be a little unrest here in New York, and that said, I think um, I think it'll be an unusual summer here. I tend to believe there will be a little bit of chaos here this summer. It feels that way because just there's so much dissent.
So Claire, when was the last time you went to a live concert?
Oh my goodness. Well, um, when I was in California, I think March 12th was the last time I played in a club. And then I came back here. Now, once since I've been back, there's a group of musicians out of Brooklyn here that do something called concerts from cars, and about 6 to 8 people will they pick locations and they drive their own cars. They drive up to a corner. They get out of their car with their instruments. They've had rehearsals like in parking lots and stuff, and they jam in the street. They play in the street for like 20 minutes, and then they get back in their cars and they drive off to the next location. And it was a very good solution. So I did play with them once. My car is not in town, but I met them. They played nearby, and I was able to play out on the street with them. And the feeling of playing music with other people was beyond elating. It was great.
And when the clubs are going to be open?
The clubs now are doing, and they have been for a little while, they're doing this thing where many of them are equipped to broadcast. As you know, you probably all watch Smalls and I think the Vanguard for sure. Not sure about the Jazz Standard, but the bigger clubs I think have been broadcasting, and they've been having bands come in and play without an audience. Although if you listen, definitely their friends are there. Um, but as you know, most of the jazz clubs are small. Here, let me change that light a little. The most of the jazz clubs are very small, so um, it's going to be really hard, I think, for them to reopen in any pragmatic way, because if they really socially distance, um, there are going to be not too many people there.
Yeah.
But they're trying, and they're broadcasting from there, which is nice. But as we have discussed, I am personally a live music dog. I want to hear. I want to be in the room where the music is being made with the people, either making it or listening to the music. I'm a big fan of both,
Yeah.
both playing and listening.
I think most of us who are gathered here are
I
sharing
would,
your feelings
I would
about that.
imagine most jazz societies are bonded in that way because we all go out to hear music. It's funny. I would go to any club in New York by myself on any given night. I don't even think twice about it because I know I'm going to get there and my community of people is going to, I'm going to find my people there, and it's a very strong bond in my heart, and it's really something I'm missing as much as not playing. I'm missing it as much. So
Right.
my heart goes out to you guys. Thank you for coming here.
Okay, so let's go back. Can you tell us about your origin, your origin story? Where do you come from?
Sure.
How do you pick up the bar sax, etc.?
Okay. I come from Yonkers, New York, which is a suburb of Manhattan. So when I was 12, my little school started a music program. I randomly picked the saxophone. My father took an encyclopedia and showed me different instruments, and I just picked the saxophone. And then he started coming home with tickets to concerts. And so the thing that drew me into the music, and it was truly an epiphany because it was a life changing moment. It was a big band concert where many bands played, many old timers. This is in the late 70s, and the last band, the Buddy Rich band, played Norwegian Wood, a Beatles tune, and I knew the Beatles tune, and it just sent me out of my skull because all of a sudden I was loving this music anyway. I was freaking out. Like jazz just it hit me hard right away. But and at the end when I knew one of the songs, I just went out of my skull, and that's how this journey started for me.
Right. So you obviously love live shows. I guess you saw many live shows during your time. Which were the seminal shows for you?
Oh my goodness, great question. Well, that was one, and that was a big band festival. I saw a Timex All Star Swing Festival in, maybe the following year at Carnegie Hall or someplace, um, or Lincoln Center, I guess, and uh, that was I remember what I was wearing, and I think it was about 1975 or something. That was a vivid one. The people that have influenced me the most over the years, um, Ross on Roland Kirk, who I saw in the late 70s. I had just found out about him, and I was in Boston, and he was going to come play at the Jazz Workshop. So I stayed after my first year at Berkeley. I stayed up there for the summer, or I stayed up there long enough to go hear Rasan, and that was uh, an amazing experience. Another group that has changed and influenced my whole life is the Fringe, which is George Garzone and Bob Gulati and the late Bob Gulati, heartbreaking, and now John Lockwood. And the only other person was Rich Appleman. He was the original bass player in that band. And since we're talking history, um, uh, I when I first heard the Fringe in 1977, I did not understand what was happening. I didn't really get it, but I was drawn to it. And I started going back every Monday night. They played at Michael's Pub in Boston, and I was a student at Berkeley. And I went back every Monday night to hear them. And it became very quickly, it became like therapy for me. Like I would leave the Fringe, and no matter what was going on in my life, and some weird things were going on in my life at that time, I would leave and I would think everything's going to be okay. Like the Fringe just had that grounding effect on me. So after a year of going almost every week, George, I mean, became friends with them because there were in those days about 3 people there every Monday. It was a small little place, and George told Michael he was looking for a bartender, and George recommended me to be the bartender. So I became the bartender at Michael's, and I heard them for about another 2 years every week, and that has been a profound influence on my life.
Amazing. By the way, which band do you wish you saw but you never did?
John Coltrane and Cannonball Adderley. Those two just come to the
How
top.
about this one? Want this?
Oh, is that an Eric Dolphy shirt?
Yeah.
I go, yeah, of course. Yes, yes, please. Yeah. Oh, there are a million. There are a million people that I missed, but I did see a lot of them. And as a kid, growing up right outside of New York, my father was very supportive of my interest in the music, and that is probably what allowed it to happen for me. And so he took me to many, many concerts. He would come home with tickets to things all the time. So I would go to rock concerts with my friends and jazz concerts with my father.
Nice. So when did you pick up the Barry sax, and why?
A little later, I was an alto player when I went to Berkeley, and played alto for a long time. When I got out of Berkeley, I got into a funky rock band that traveled a lot. We kind of lived on the road, and I played alto, tenor, and soprano in that, believe it or not. And then I moved back to New York in 1985, which is when I thought, well, maybe if I get a baritone, I could get more get work. I could work more if you have more instruments. And this girl was selling a baritone. I went there, tried it. It turns out it was the horn that Howard Johnson's mother bought him in 1957. And I played one note. I was also a big Howard Johnson played on the Return of the 5,000 Pound Man album of Rossans, and I was already a big Howard Johnson fan from Gravity and from his his tuba playing more, but his baritone playing too I knew. And so I played one note on that horn, and that was, I call that the second epiphany in jazz for me. I played that horn, and I was just like, oh my God, this is where I live. This is my voice. I think it was instant. Yeah.
What were your influences in baritone saxophone in general?
I never know what to say about that, because oddly enough, the tenor saxophone has been the voice that has probably spoken to me the most. And the alto is the one I started on. I mean, alto, Charlie Parker, Cannonball, those, those were the people I was listening to. And more tenor players. So my baritone history isn't even complete, But I mean, obviously, I love all the baritone players, but for very different reasons. And if I really had to pick a favorite, Serge Shaloff. I just love Serge Shaloff so much. His sound and his swing and his when he is on, he is, he's as good as, he's amazing. There just were some funky recordings of his too, due to his life, but he's really at the top of the list for me again.
Yeah,
These things change all the time. I mean, I don't know, and as much as Pepper and those guys, like I love them so much. It's just different phases or different things we go through or are attracted to or want to do in music. And personally, I lean towards the melodic.
right. No, I really share your passion to Serge Shaloff.
Ah, yes, good.
Blue Surge is an amazing album, and his Body and Soul is like.
You have this one? I keep this one on my desk. The Mosaic Complete Collection of Serge Shaloff.
Wait. I have it somewhere.
Show me yours. I'll show you mine.
Exactly what we're going to do. I'm going to show it later on. I'm going to show it to you later on. I'm going to brag.
No, he's really up at the top again for me, like by far.
Definitely. So you talked about Boston. Obviously, went to Berkeley.
Mm-hmm.
And Berkeley, as we all know, is one of the most influential, very important music school in the world, maybe. But if you have to pick one thing that really influenced you there in Berkeley, what would that be?
If it could really only be one thing, it has to be the Fringe.
Fringe.
Because from that period of time, and from George Garzone. Now, George is one of my beloved, dear friends of over 40 years now. And the Fringe, for sure. But the other thing, though, if I could squeeze in a second thing, because I think it was really important, is the connection of the people that I met when I was going there. Because I think what you don't realize about college is these are the people you're going to go through life with. If you're in a specified field like that, you're going to go through life with these people. And the friends that I made back then, the good friends, many, if not most, are still my very good friends, and some of whom I still work with, or we stay in touch with, and it's a lifelong connection. So for all of now, Joe, I studied with Joe Viola, which was, I guess I have to squeeze him in on the list too. I can't bring this down to one thing. Um, Joe Viola was a master teacher and an incredible human, as most of those people that I knew from there really were. So I'll stop trying to squeeze people on the list. But I could really go on and on about that. I got a lot of good. I got a lot of good out of my Berkeley years.
Right, yeah. I saw Garzon many times when I was living in Cambridge, but on the lily pad.
Oh, okay.
Like,
I saw him there some. Sometimes I would drive to Boston to go hear the Fringe, like from New York. It's
New York.
less than 4 hours, And I've had a whole history of doing that because really the Fringe, I have said, when I die, I think that my exit music is going to be the Fringe. I feel like it's been the soundtrack of my life. And it's
What?
funny 'cause I'm not. I play avant. I play in some wonderful avant-garde settings here, and I've got an amazing wealth of free jazz people that I play with here. But I also play like very straight ahead. Like I love just swinging as much as I love the most out screaming out, free jazz.
Right.
It's all good to me. I really love it.
So you played during your lifetime a lot of gig, traveled the world. Now you have a little bit of free time, to sit back and relax and survey your career, let's say.
Yep.
How do you feel about it? What would you change?
Wow, that's a very deep question. Um, wow, I'm speechless at that. I don't. I really love my life in a lot of ways, and I don't feel, oh, I would do it all differently. Maybe I would have been more or less aggressive at different times or gotten different skills together, that now would be useful. Oops, I forgot to get those together. The internet being one of them. My presence online is a good project for me at this time of reflection. Um, yeah, there's a thing that I've noticed because I have been reflective and I have been home alone a lot. And you look through old pictures or look through things, and a big difference for somebody my age from somebody a generation even younger is there weren't even, we didn't even have cameras in our phones. So I have pictures of things along the way. But now these, the young players, every time they practice, they're recording it and putting it online. Like, it's it's just how it is now. And there's a lot. I think anything that happened before online will eventually disappear because people are kind of living online. Did I digress a little there? Well, I do that.
We all do that, aren't we? Um, we had this among us, a few of my friends. We have this ongoing discussion about women in jazz or the lack there or a lack thereof. Like women are generally underrepresented in jazz, especially among the instrumentalists and especially among horn players like saxophone and trumpet, etc. Why do you think that is?
Well, my joke pat answer to that is always maybe women really are smarter, but that's not fair to say. Why is that? I can't really answer why. and I could certainly, there are certainly many women players who are outstanding players, and um, I don't, I don't really know the why. I really don't. And I know that the situation is much different now than it was when I was coming up. Um, I think the access to the music is happening much younger. Young kids are hearing this music, so the ones that are drawn into it are starting at a much younger age, and I feel like their skill level is off the hook. I mean, we all see these kids; they're like, I call them jazz fetuses. They're like children, and they sound, mature and strong, and they're great players. So I think that it's balancing. I think that it's balancing. It's just a very slow process. I mean, really, because coming up, there were few women older than me that I found. Um, I never really thought about that, and I said to somebody recently, this is a weird thing that I realized. I feel like I spent my life trying to draw away from the fact that I was a woman playing jazz. I didn't want that to be an MO. I didn't get into that to be a pioneer or do something no other women were doing, or like I didn't do that. And I think most women will tell you that they if the music draws you in, you don't really want to be identified as being there for a different reason. Um, yeah. So I don't know. Now I feel like there are a couple of generations of younger women who are very much women in jazz and very proud of it. And I think that's really cool. You know, I think it's getting better. What needs to happen? I mean, in anything, it's like Sherry Miracle. I was in Diva. I was the first baritone player in Diva for about 7 years, and Sherry Miracle used to say, excuse me, I think about the pendulum swinging, or I think Sherry said, the pendulum has to swing, like why have an all-female band? Well, it was like the black baseball leagues. Originally, baseball leagues didn't have mixed races. And so there had to be a black baseball league before baseball became integrated racially. So maybe that's a purpose that a lot of the women in jazz causes is trying to level that off. I don't really know. And progress seems to me to be so slow that I'm just optimistic about it.
Just gonna explain to those who don't know Diva. Diva was an all-women, all-female big band.
Yeah, and still is. I mean,
Still is.
they're still riding strong. Oh yeah, they're riding strong. That's Sherry, who is the band leader of that. How generous do you have to have a big band in the 2000, in the year 2000 anything? I mean, to deal with what you have to deal with to get a big band out and working. I mean, I can't get my quartet out. I'm out by myself in the car playing with local rhythm sections, different places, and the 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 strength to want to put a big band out there is just remarkable. But yeah, they're still doing it.
So let's talk about the new album that's coming out. You told me about it a few days ago, and uh, please share what's the album about, and also why release it during this pandemic. No one is doing that.
Well, this is kind of the story of my life in that things that can't possibly happen. And the story of this record is it's called Rah Rah, and it is an homage to Rahsaan Roland Kirk. And I made this record years ago. I made this record maybe in 2008, I think is the year. And I made it. I I don't remember my reasoning, but I have made records very impulsively. And I went, oh, I'm sorry, somebody's dog is there. Hi, I love seeing your dog. um, I made this record. I love Rahsaan, and I must have just wanted to make a record because I make my records in one day. It's like I rehearse, I pick, I think about them, and work on them, and then record them usually in one day. So I I booked a session to make a record, and we made this record. I released it only at the time on my website, and I made, I don't think it's around here, but I made all the covers myself. I drew covers. I drew little stick figures of the quartet, and some of them I just did artwork on, and all the covers were hand drawn, and it was just fun. So, so fast forward to a month or 2 months ago, uh, Donald Elfman, who had released my first record, Swing Low, on Koch Jazz. I have stayed in touch with. We became friends over life. He put out, I think, 2 records for me back then. He called me out of the blue and said, I've been listening to your Rahsaan record, and did you ever really release it, officially on anything? And I said, no. So he said, I want to put it out. So he's got a little label called Ride Cymbal Records. So he just put it into gear. It's being pressed now as we speak, and it's coming out. I think the official date is October 2nd, but it's going to happen. We're just going to put that one out now. That is impossible. Nobody is getting a record put out this year of all years too. So it's just kind of how my life has been full of impossibilities that have happened, and I feel thrilled about it for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is what better time to summon the energy of Rahsaan Roland Kirk. Now, this record is not I'm not playing 2 horns at once, or I'm not trying to mimic Rahsaan in any way. But as I said, and I think it's in the liner notes, it's like Rahsaan just gives you permission to be whoever you are, and to mix whatever you want to mix, and to experience life in a free way. So, what better time to bring up his unstoppable energy than now? And I'm actually thinking about Rahsaan through pandemic time and everything, and I think, you know what? You just put the stuff on your shoulders and keep going. Like, Rahsaan was blind. He was carting around a million instruments, getting around not around town, around the world. Like, he was traveling, and bringing this free spirit to everything he did. And he's really, one of my top heroes. So I'm very happy that record is going to come out again. Even though, of course, you listen to yourself 12 years ago and go, oh, I wish I played that better or something. But I don't even pay attention to that stuff anymore. It's it's here, and it's now, and it's going out.
And it's going to be available not just on your website, I hope.
Exactly. And thank God, finally, it's going to be on all the, Amazon and iTunes, and it will be actually available, which you may have noticed a lot of my stuff is not that available. And I'll just say that I'm working on it. And I would like to get it up, get more stuff up. I have lots of, there are several CDs that are just impossible to find, and I apologize for that.
Perfect. Before I'll sign up and open the stage for questions from others, okay, while I drink. some water. What have like maybe like a short questionnaire for you, okay? Just
Okay. Rapid fire here? Is that what we're...
yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Give me an example of two of especially good or interesting movie score.
Oh, Australian movie. Uh,
Priscilla, Queen of the
no,
Desert.
no, it's about no, no. It's about the outback. Oh, it's the wildest story. What is that called? Out ah I'm gonna have to find it somewhere. It's the most amazing. It's Barry. Uh, the guy's name is Barry. I think the composer. Oh, all
Next
right. I can't do
question.
that quickly. I can't do it quickly. Sorry.
Same question about an interesting or good melody.
Um, I love I've Got the World on a String. Just popped to mind. I could do better maybe, but
No.
that's one of them.
Same question about a good pop song, current pop song.
Current pop song? Oh, really? Stump the saxophone player. A current pop song. I don't
You
think
can
I'm
say pass. You can say pass.
past too.
I'll pass to another question.
Okay, pass.
An interesting, a good album that no one really pays attention to.
Well, a favorite is Blues and the Abstract Truth, but I think people pay attention to that one. So, um, what's something I'm listening to these days? They're not here. Um, nope, pass. Keep going. I'm not good at this. I have to think about things. When I'm on the spot, I'm like, I don't know. And then I think, oh, I didn't think of that. I didn't think of that.
Two, two last rapid questions. Um, what music do you listen to right now, like these days?
Okay. Um, I had here, and I have to get one because I had to return it to someone, but I had a thing that I could say, Alexa, play anything. And Ornette Coleman a lot. I listened to a lot of Ornette Coleman throughout pandemic time. But I would also listen to rock. I've made a joke a lot about listening to Tommy one day by The Who, and it was one of the first records I bought when I was like 12 years old, and I knew every word to a rock opera. I knew every little guitar lick, and it was very funny to me. I was very impressed at the power of music. Um, but who else did I love listening to? Well, John Coltrane, but and I had several John Coltrane days too, because I would just say play Ornette Coleman and leave it on, just keep it going all day. Which I did when Ornette died, and I had the pleasure of hanging out with Ornette a few times and playing at his loft and shooting pool with him and having just, as I say, if I would have walked out of my life and lived in the vortex that was Ornette's world, if I could have, I would have made that choice in a second. I would just have stayed there for eternity. So when he died, they played him on a radio station here 24/7. And I just had it playing in my apartment 24 hours. So I remembered that with this Alexa machine, that just has access to all this music. So lots of Ornette. Um, who else? I listened to a fair amount of Stevie Wonder too. For some reason, I was loving that. Not for some reason. I mean, he's Stevie Wonder. Yeah.
Okay. And last question is, which musicians that playing today, active today, you wish to play and you still haven't?
that I wish to play with
Yeah.
that I haven't. Oh, I'll say Jerry Gibbs, the drummer. I really like Jerry Gibbs, and he's a great character and a great player. He's somebody, and I've conversed a little with him, and we've sort of said that recently. It'd be fun to play some music. Um, God, another one. I'm sure I could make a very long list, but I just have to see a reference to make the people come to mind. Um, there's a young tenor player um, called Chris Bittner. Woo, that guy's got some extra going on. Love his playing. A young player, and but an old soul certainly, and just has that extra thing. I mean, there are so many players that are super developed and that are really terrific players. But there are those couple of people. It's like Coltrane. Why does Coltrane stand out? So why does George Garzone? Why is he? These people? They got something extra, and I believe they come in with it. That it's something in their being that they come in with.
Great. Okay. I have no more questions for you right now, and especially because I want to leave some time for others to ask any questions. So, Claire, thank you so much for.
Oh, thank you. I hope I was coherent. I haven't been
I was.
talking to a lot of people, so I don't know. Could be a little scattered.
I hope I was coherent, especially in English. Anyways, guys, if you want to ask anything, just raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Okay. Don't be afraid.
Do you want to know about my friend Wilson over here in the corner?
Oh, Wilson. And I need to show you this.
There it is. Yes, the Brotherhood of Serge Shaloff fans.
So why are you keeping the Wilson ball?
Well, I did it as a joke for myself. Humor is important to me in life, and I was in my apartment so much by myself that I said to somebody, I'm going to start drawing faces on things in my apartment and talking to them because it's just so much alone time, so much me time, too much me time. And then I was like, I feel like I'm on a desert island. And I thought about the Tom Hanks movie where he is on a desert island and he has his soccer ball with his bloody handprint on it. So I said, I bet you can buy one of those online. And I haven't bought anything in 4 months. And I went online and I found that. And I said, I'm going to get that for myself, just for amusement.
Okay, Claire, I wish that you
Well,
soon be out to play some gigs and listen to some live music.
sure. Well, me
And
too. And I'll come over there anytime you ask.
please come.
I would
And
love.
we're waiting for your new album.
Wow, nobody has a question. Okay. I feel bad. Nobody wants to know anything. Okay. I don't feel bad. It's fine. I appreciate you all coming. Thank you for listening and thank you for paying attention and and thank you for your love of jazz because don't we get a lot from that? I do. I mean, it's funny. I have to say one other thing, one other parting thought, because now I can't stop talking. Um, you hear people talking about, oh, we have to support jazz, and jazz is dying, and jazz is this and that. And I just, what I hope is not that we all can keep supporting jazz in some you know, way. What I feel like is that we can just all keep remembering how much we get from it, because it's just I don't know. It's been a great life for me. Like your question before, like there's not a lot I regret about my life, and I'd spend another one in this music, you know, pretty easily. So, I just hope that we can all keep remembering how much we get from this, and I hope that you all can go out and hear some great music really soon.
Perfect. Great parting thoughts. Thank you for sharing this with us. Thank you for your time, Claire, and
My pleasure. Thank you, Barak.
have a great afternoon.
I will. You too. Have a good night, you guys.
Bye, guys. Bye, everyone. Litrot. Bye.
Bye bye. So, do I go off of this now too, Barak, or are we going to yak anymore?
No, I'm gonna turn it off. Okay.
Okay. Thanks again.